Hey guys, Meteorologist Chris Tomer here with this afternoon mountain weather update. All right, here's what I'm seeing this afternoon. So we are now in this high pressure period for most of the Intermountain West, 127 through 131. The exception, of course, West Coast, Pacific Northwest, BC. That's where most of the moisture is going to be directed. And even up there, we're looking at really high snow levels, really high freezing levels of like 7,000 to 8,000 feet up there in Washington State. And parts of BC, 5,000, 6,000, 7,000 feet as well. Colorado, Utah, you're going to be underneath the high pressure ridge. And even though we're not going to have precipitation, we're looking at high freezing levels of like 8,000 to 10,000 feet. So that has not changed from this morning's update. Still watching the pattern shift for the first week of February. There have been some subtle changes this afternoon. Watching the storm track, each individual area of low pressure that moves in will be critical to determine exactly where it tracks. If it shifts south, that pulls the heavy snow to the south. It moves north, you get the idea. In the northeast, you've got snow coming, afternoon 128 and 129. Now it looks like a little bigger deal, 2.2 into 2.5. So we'll look at all that in this update. I want to take you over to water vapor. And like I was explaining this morning, let me pull out the lime. So this moist flow is all being directed up here into this area. That's where the moisture is going. It's going up and around an area, a ridge of high pressure that's kind of sitting over here across the Intermountain West. So everything's kind of rotating around that. But also on the back side, you've got this big trough of low pressure sitting back here. Everything's kind of like a merry-go-round. Everything's sort of rotating around this thing. And that's being supported and guided by the subtropical jet. And this whole thing is going to break loose and move into the west. The leading storm system is probably going to be pretty strong. And that's when I say, and that's why I say the storm track is critical, because that first low, it really does matter where it ends up tracking. Here's the forecast radar and satellite. So this is the latest. This is the current state of affairs. Everything's up in the Pacific Northwest and BC. High pressure continues to rule. Utah, Wyoming, Colorado, New Mexico. Some moisture tries to sneak beneath it, dries up pretty fast. So here's 129, here's 130. Very warm across the Intermountain West again, 8, 9, 10,000 foot freezing levels. Definitely possible. Here's 131 late in the day. Here comes the trough of low pressure spreading snow into the Sierra, and then eventually that begins to move into the interior. So let me take you one more day into the future at least here. So here's 2, 3. And widespread snow with that initial storm system. But the difference from this morning is the initial low is tracking a little further to the south. Let me take you another day into the future. Here's 2, 4. Here's what's left over of that initial storm system. So there's kind of a diagonal of snow across the Intermountain West. Let me take you into 2, 5. That storm's gone. Here comes the next one from the West Coast. This one comes in squarely, probably central and northern California, then moves into the interior. So the first storm system, the track, has shifted a little further to the south. And now we can clearly see the second storm system coming in on 2.5. All right, let's talk about the jet stream. So here's 2.1 when the door swings open. You can see the initial area of low pressure right on the leading edge of that jet streak moving into California, and that's the one that moves in. And the track of that is very important to determine who gets the heaviest snow. By the time we get into 2.5, you can see the next storm system, the trough swinging into central to northern California. And then that one will move into the interior as well. One thing you're going to notice is once we get into this, cold air does start to gradually settle into the Intermountain West, which is going to be great because it's going to be so warm at the onset. So it will eventually cool down. All right, snowfall by period, nothing. Nothing today, tomorrow, except for up in BC. And this is 129 through 131, the heart of the high pressure through the interior. It's high and dry. There's just nothing there. All right, here's the time period. You'll probably note, if you watch the update this morning, here's the update this afternoon. You'll notice everything's sort of shifted a little further to the south out of Wyoming, Utah, and more so into Colorado, northern New Mexico. The numbers in California have gone up. You know, it's still up to debate as to whether this is going to end up being an atmospheric river or not. If it is, the numbers will stay high or even go higher. So, you know, there's a number of balls in the air right now. Storm track, atmospheric river, cold air, all that kind of stuff. Okay, let me look at the northeast. So these numbers have also crept up, mostly from, and you've got snow coming afternoon 128 into 129, but the event on 2.2, 2.3, 2.5 appears to be a little more significant. That's really far out there, but that's why the numbers have crept up this afternoon. So, you know, going back to this map, I mean, obviously things will change. We'll have to see what the data looks like tomorrow. We'll see where the storm track is and all of that. So guys, thanks for tuning in here to this afternoon Mountain Weather Update. Always appreciate it. Take care.